You are now listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Narrative Podcast, and I am your host, your brother like no other, Halsey Allen. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, reciprocity, and positivity. Welcome all my narrators, welcome narrator family, welcome anybody that's unfamiliar with the platform and just now tuning in this evening on this live broadcast of the Narrative Podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here this evening. Here we are on the Narrative Podcast. So everybody that is a regular listener or a narrator, they already know the demonstration. They already know what my platform and podcast is all about. For everybody new, unfamiliar, and kind of want to know what the Narrative Podcast is all about and what type of content they'll be tuning in to this evening, I'll give you a quick overview before diving into the content. But first, I just want to, touch bases with everybody, greet everybody, welcome. So here we are. It's Hump Day, Wednesday. We made it over the hump. Weekend right around the corner. This year is almost out of here. So what are we doing to prepare for the upcoming new year? We got all kinds of stuff ahead of us. What are you doing to accomplish your goals? If you set any, where are you at in the world right now? If you don't know, that's all right. Got plenty of time to figure it out. I mean, not plenty of time. We got some limited time because, some stuff's going down. I'm going to address that later on in the broadcast. But, just getting everything together and ready. This is live, y'all. This is a live broadcast of the Narrative Podcast. So, anything can happen. For the most part, I'm pretty much prepared, but just getting comfortable right now, getting my space situated. All right, so here we go. Before diving into the content, I'm going to give you a quick little walkthrough of the Narrative Podcast. So we're going to start at the top. Tippy, the name, the Narrative Podcast. I named my podcast the Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media portrays about original people and original culture. I get to the original people part later on, a little later on in the synopsis, but so I didn't like that one bit. I just assessed it and was like, we're always getting the short end of the stick. We're always getting misrepresented and shown in a negative light. So I decided to create a platform where I'm celebrating our accomplishments and basically speaking up for the culture, shedding light on, everything that we do right as a people and as a culture. So, because the media, they're always showing us from the angle of, degeneracy, being disenfranchised, lost, no real attributes. They're just always showing us from a destitute type perspective. So I was like, well, wait a minute. That's not who we are as a people. We got to get the word out and, let the world know what's really going on with us. And I wanted to be the bridge to do that. So my mission statement for the Narrative Podcast is to bring awareness to all the listeners, everybody out there in podcast land and social media land, how important, especially my people, original people, how important it is to, responsibly utilize your platform to correctly tell the story of original people and original culture, meaning, just always put out positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, because the media always puts out negative frames of reference about our people and our culture. So, it's up to us to put out, an accurate representation of who we are as a people. And by accurate, I mean, here what I do on my podcast, I'm delivering positive frames of reference. As a matter of fact, that's a perfect segue for my tagline, the Narrative Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes? By providing positive frames of reference. And that's what I encourage all my listeners to do, to provide positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And what positive frames of reference do I mean? I mean, like here what I do on the Narrative Podcast, I tell our story. The positive frames of reference that I supply is stories about, leadership, entrepreneurship, family structure, us overcoming obstacles, triumphing in the face of adversity, caring about, our fellow brother, our fellow sister, exhibiting and displaying humane efforts to push civilization forward, being pillars in our community, just being selfless, caring and conducting ourselves with dignity, decorum, moving with a sense of urgency, doing our part to uplift and edify our people, raise our children, be respectful to our elderly, just be leading examples of good people, just good people, period, but especially a good original person. So that's, the types of frames of reference that I provide here on the Narrative Podcast, and I encourage all my listeners to provide on their platforms. Because like I said, the media, they just grossly misrepresent us. They do it intentionally. They do it to, it's a form of psychological warfare. It's a big, finesse, a big shell game. And what do I mean by psychological warfare? Psychological warfare waged on us is to desensitize our people to violence, desensitize our people to degeneracy and immorality, thus brainwashing us to be discourteous to one another and behave in, an ungodly manner. Because those are the images they keep on pushing in front of us. They keep perpetuating it. They place all kinds of stereotypes and stigmas over us. And we, on a subconscious level, gravitate towards it and accept it as normal and, unfortunately act out these negative stereotypes and stigmas that the media intentionally places over us. That's just for us. And to people outside of our culture, they, they program and condition their minds with these negative stereotypes and stigmas about our people to, get them to react to us a certain way, interact with us a certain way, and perceive us a certain way. And the way they want us perceived is, unintelligent, hostile, violent, lazy, just uncouth, unrefined, savage, dirty. And I can go on and on and on. Now, this platform is not caring about what people outside of our culture think about us, or seeking validation from people outside of our culture. That's not what this platform is not about at all. It's just basically, setting the record straight. If you're going to tell our story correctly, tell it from the perspective of us being kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe. That's the perspective you need to tell our story. So like I said, the media intentionally does that. It's a form of psychological warfare, put together by the powers that be to, to keep a, strong socioeconomic stronghold over all the resources. They want to have the dominant society, the higher echelon, aka wealthy white people, at the top of the pyramid and everybody else beneath. Like I said, they use these stereotypes and stigmas against everybody who isn't wealthy and white. But they, out of all the people they do it to us the most, because out of everybody else, they fear us the most. And why do they fear us the most? Because they are aware of their culture, how they came to be. They know their true origins, and they know our true origins. And their biggest fear is, once we realize our true origins and continue to walk how we was created to walk, stop fighting amongst each other and start unifying and mobilizing, and revert back to our former prominence, that we'll do to them what they did to us and are currently doing to us. That's their biggest fear. So, it's an ill-gotten fear because that's just not in our nature. That's something else that I talk about repeatedly on my platform, the true nature of original people. But yeah, that's essentially why they do it, the main reason why they misrepresent our people. So another misnomer about the Narrator podcast: this is a time-sensitive platform. This is an all-audio platform. So the reason why it's time-sensitive, when I first started podcasting, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. All I did want to know, I wanted to engage my people. So, I wanted to bring knowledge, spread knowledge and awareness about our plights. Because when I first started, I just used to hit the button and just talk. So then I, came up with the idea of I want to cover a vast array amount of topics. What is the best way to do that? Just basically keep it short and simple. Keep it right to the point. Because I don't care how interesting of a life you lead, how many fascinating stories you have to tell. Like, nobody wants to sit up there and listen to somebody ramble on for hours and hours on end. So I decided to keep my platform as, concise and short to the point as possible. Then that way I can cover a wider amount of topics in a short amount of time, keeping my audience entertained and keeping them, engaged and preventing them from spacing off and tuning out. Because, after a while, after somebody like 25, 30 minutes hear somebody talk, it just sounds like wah, 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 wah. Like, I don't care who you are, just like, especially with social media these days, people just like got low attention span. So I want to try to, grab your attention and keep you captivated and, attentive as, I'm delivering the content and just, basically I want to keep your attention and prevent you from spacing off and, tuning out of the knowledge that I'm trying to share with you on my platform. So that's, essentially what the Narrator podcast is all about. This is a positive space. I don't do any negativity. I don't do any gossip, slander. I don't throw brothers and sisters under the bus. I feel that we get attacked from all sides. So this is a space where I'm uplifting and edifying our people and our culture. But I do tell the truth. I don't pussyfoot around with the truth. If a brother or sister is using, their platform, whether knowingly or unknowingly, using their platform in such a way that it got us all looking and, appearing to be crazy through their actions, through the way they're carrying and conducting themselves, then I got to say something about it. But primarily, when I bring up a famous person's name, it's really to illustrate a point. It's not to, tear them down or kick dirt on their name or call them out. It's just like, setting up a point that I'm trying to make. And all the points that I try to make here on the Narrator podcast about when it comes to our people and our culture is like that. Yes, we have our in-house issues. Yes, we have our things we need to work on as a people. But, the lens I focus on is like, here's why we do this. This is how come we do this. This is not us naturally, who we are as a people and as an original people. We've been programmed and conditioned to act out this way and to do these things and to carry ourselves like this through the powers that be. And I might use a famous person as an example to illustrate that, but never to, denigrate or kick dirt on nobody's name or single somebody out. Never that. Now, I know you heard me say original people a lot, and that's probably my final thing about my platform. I refer to our people as original people, as opposed to black. And the reason why I refer to our people on the Narrator podcast as original people is because I believe that's historically accurate in terms of who we are as a people. We are the original indigenous man and woman of this planet. We are inhabited all corners of the globe, everywhere on Earth, on every continent. And contrary to all unpopular belief, we didn't get to all these places via slave boats, especially here in the Americas, especially North America. Like, we was already here. The majority of us was already here. While chattel slavery was a very real thing and a whole lot of people got captured, enslaved, brutalized, the majority of us was already, inhabiting various corners of the globe. Like we was already indigenously located there. You know, the rest of us did come over here on slave boats, but the majority of us, we was already here. But, you know, the powers that be, they also put us on, you know, plantations. Took our land, put us on plantations, called us black. Like the natives right now, that's even the term they coined, Native American. But the so-called, and I'm doing air quotes, Native Americans, they ain't even the real natives. We are the ones that got the all the hotels and the casinos and the, you know, getting the government check that's really supposed to be ours. So we got double screwed. We don't get reparations. We don't get that. We gotta go to a darn tribal council to prove our lineage, and they're the ones that's not authentic. But anyway, I'm veering off pudding. That's the reason why I refer to our people as original people versus black. Not only that, for the you know, historically accurate term, it unifies us as a people because there are so many different types of us, referring to ourselves as so many different things, coming from so many different land masses, different flesh tones, you know, darkest of the dark, lightest of the light, everything in between, languages, ideology, politics, anything you can think of to separate and divide a people. You know, we have that in our culture, but the one thing that we all have in common as a people is that we were first, the original man, original woman. We can all trace our lineage back to the original point for all mankind. We have that in common. So that's why I refer to our people as original people as often as possible here on the Narrative Podcast. Not ashamed of being black. You know, I just also believe in the power of words. I know, you know, black means a whole lot of positive things, but it means more negative things than it does positive things. And I'm not going to go back and forth with nobody. I don't argue and debate with nobody. I don't try to force my beliefs and views on other people. If you are comfortable referring to yourself as black, but don't see anything wrong with it, then go ahead, go right on ahead. But here on the Narrative Podcast, I try to refer to our people as original people as often as possible and try to encourage everybody else to too. But like I said, it's not a big deal. If you want to be called black, that's fine. But I try to refer to our people as black or original as often as possible. Now, so another thing is I do 2 broadcasts. This is the live edition. It's a little bit different format than my full broadcast. My full broadcast is on the weekends. It's a bit of a it's a little different. So here on my live broadcast, what I do is, like I just told you, the Narrative Podcast, I provide positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. The positive frames of reference that I provide about our people and our culture on a live broadcast of the Narrative Podcast come via news articles. So, and the reason why I do that is because we're constantly being bombarded with negativity 24 hours a day, just negative, negativity in the music, negativity in the movies, television, you know, literature, periodicals, magazines, books, just negatively depicting our images and likenesses, again, to, you know, as a form of psychological warfare, just trying to make us embrace the fact nothing positive ever happens in our communities. Our people never do anything positive. So that's why I do articles. And then I also, when I'm done with articles on my live broadcast, I deliver, commentary on what's happening, globally, what's happening around the world, and, what's happening within our community. And the reason why I do that is to control the narrative. Because like I said, the media goes out of their way to have us looking and sounding all kinds of crazy. And if history hasn't taught us anything over time, it's taught us this. That if you don't tell your own stories, your stories will be told for you. And that's precisely what the media is doing when it comes to our people. They're trying to tell our stories from a certain perspective. And the perspective that they're trying to tell our story is negative. Like, just stop me if you ever heard of it. Like, just to frame it up for you. If a celebrity in our community does something negative, it's, going viral on every single, internet platform, YouTube channel, podcast for about 3, 4, 5 weeks. They're doing exposés, local news, national news exposés on whatever negative thing that the celebrity did. Whatever negative thing, and it'll go anywhere, it'll go for as long as they can milk it. Anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months, depending on their status as a celebrity. But now, if that same celebrity does something positive, gives back, takes care of the community, we either won't hear at all about it, or when we hear it, it's just like a brief little snippet, a brief little editorial, and, that'll last maybe a day or two, a week at the most, but you know what I'm saying? Like, the parallel between positive and negative, it's like the positive or the negative outweighs the positive. So, that's why I do these, to share news that positivity does happen within our community, that we are out in these streets winning, that we are progressing, and that we're not these, images, these false images that the media circulates about us. Oh, I think I skipped over one more thing about the Narrator podcast. So I told you all about my platform. I also call my regular listeners my narrators. And the reason why I do that is, like I said, my mission statement is to get us to share positive content responsibly, utilize our digital platforms to, tell the story about our people, to deliver positive frames of reference. But like I said, we're living in the digital age now, and all thoughts are conveyed online. Like, whatever you post online, that is a direct representation of you. It's a correlation of who you are as a person. Okay? Like, it seems kind of unfair and biased, I know, but it's just like, it's standard all across the board. People and companies associate you as a person with your interests, hobbies are, beliefs, value systems, based on what type of content that you're posting online. So just imagine how we look to content creators as a people. If we're always engaging in, these negative stigmas and stereotypes, if we're always posting pimp culture, whore culture, drug culture, thought culture, F-boy culture, like, if we're posting all these degenerate things, the media is evil, wicked, and diabolical, but at the core of it, they're a business. And the first rule of business is supply and demand. So that's why we have all this degenerate programming when it comes to our people, because these Fortune 500 companies are monitoring trends online, and they're creating products to accommodate the inherent, what they believe or what they interpret as interests. They believe we're interested in degeneracy, and they keep on creating lanes for degeneracy to thrive. This is why I call my target listening audience my narrators, because the first time in ever, we have the power to change the narrative, to tell or narrate our stories. How do we do that? By posting positive content. That's how you can change the narrative. Then we can, create the wave for positivity. If we're, as content creators, for the people to create content, do skits, whatever you do online, if you put out positive stuff, then, these Fortune 500 companies, they'll look at it and notice like, hey, they like that. They like stories about, giving back, entrepreneurship. Let's create something to accommodate that interest. Because that's what they're doing right now, is they're creating all this degeneracy because they believe we're interested in it. Because they're going off of what we're posting online, and what we're clicking on online. Because at the core of it, like I said, it's evil, it's wicked, it's diabolical, but it's a business. And that's how businesses create product. So this is why we have to change the narrative by becoming narrators and telling our story accurately. So that's where the term narrator comes from. Not moderator. That's people that got a YouTube channel or whatever, and they got people that they don't want coming in their little live sessions, disrupting the flow. But yeah, that's what I mean when I call my listening audience my narrators. Just like we can change the narrative together. All right, so now that I got that out the way, so as I said, I'm providing positive frames of reference via news articles, positive articles that I've come across. I got a few. It's super short tonight, but very good, very motivational, inspirational. And then I got an ultralight bite for as far as commentary. It's not going to be nothing that I haven't covered before, or nothing that I haven't been saying for the longest. I'm just going to do a little reiterating. But it's not, no topics are completely remixed, but I've been saying it. This is just some, confirmation for things that I've already predicted to come. That's just what my world news, and then something happening within our community. I'm going to retouch on that because it, it's resurfaced again, and I'm going to readdress it, and then I'm going to move forward. But anyway, tonight with my positive frames of reference, just a second, got to get some stuff adjusted. All right, so here on the Narrator podcast, the very first article of the evening here on the Narrator podcast, the headline reads, 71-year-old black mom graduates with her daughter. And the sister's name is Yvonne Span Sawyers. and she is a Charleston, South Carolina native. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in biblical studies, and so her daughter's name is a little different spelling, so if I mispronounce it, my bad. Imaba. And her last name is Sawyers too, because I didn't see the last name in the article, so I'm just going to assume her last name is the same as well. Graduated from the National University with a master's degree in Homeland Security and Emergency Management. So that's very impressive. To be 71, still going strong. You know, it's never too late. That's why I'm sharing this story, because the media, they're always trying to program and condition us to believe there's a time limit in which to, you know, achieve your goal. Like, you know, they're trying to program and condition us into, you know, within hip hop culture, we're always saying you got to hustle, you got to grind, you got to get it. Like, it takes time. That's what they don't be telling you. Whatever you're doing in life, it takes time. Anything worth doing. Like, there's a difference between grinding is motion. Just anybody can grind. But progression, to progress, that takes time. Like, anybody can grind. You can do like 8, 9, 10, 11 projects all at once. But if you're not making any progress, you just grind it. Yeah. But progress takes time. And, you know, with that level of discipline and tenacity, she didn't give up. At 71 years old, I'm pretty sure as a mother, she had all kinds of responsibilities. She's coming from an era where there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities afforded to our people. I'm sure she's seen her fair share of systemic pushback, but through all that, she found a way to make her dream come true, and she accomplished her goal. So that's why I want to share that this evening. One more sidebar I have to make. Her major, she graduated in biblical studies. I'm just going to put that out there. This out here, no matter what your, you know, religious or spiritual practice, if you are a U.S. citizen, if you're living right here in the United States of America, this corporation, it's not a country, it's a corporation. Let's get it straight. But if you're living in the United States, even if you don't believe in Jesus, even if you're not a Christian, you could be a darn atheist for all, you know, you can be an atheist, not believe in God or a higher power at all. But what you better do, if you want to, you know, as they say, unplug from the matrix and crack, I'm doing air quotes, crack the code, you better get, you know, a relationship with that Bible. Because the Bible is what all these Fortune 500 companies, you know, construct their business on, the principles, all these laws, all these unjust laws that they make against our people, you know, is based on biblical law. You know, the whole, you know, economic structure here in America is based on biblical principles, whether you believe in the Bible or not. You know, if nothing else, you know, it's a book. Books contain knowledge. So if nothing else, read the Bible for that, to learn how to crack the code. One more point that I want to make, kind of to cement my hypothesis about that, And then I'm going to move forward to my next couple ones. Jamie Foxx had did a comedy special. I forget the name of it. It was years ago, but in that comedy special, he was recanting the first encounter he had with Prince. And he said in this comedy bit, you know, Prince was at the top of the stairwell and he had the Holy Bible. Because he was asking Prince about some business moves. He wanted to make some business moves. And Prince asked him, did he read the Bible? According to Jamie Foxx's special. And he said he came down, he was holding the Holy Bible in his hands. And if you know about our brother Prince, it's fine, not that I'm counting people's pockets, but he has been a millionaire several times over since his debut album in the early 80s, like since 84. Multi-million-dollar, you know, well over $1 million, millionaire several times over. Like nearly every political, you know, movement we had within our community at some time went to Prince for a donation for their cause, for the liberation cause, and Prince obliged. But that's how he acquired, you know, his vast fortune. I'm just saying, you can, you know, believe in what you want to believe in. You know, whatever you embrace spiritually, whatever you want to call it, you know, call it whatever you want to call it. But if you're an American citizen, if you live in the United States, you better know that Bible. All right. On to my next one. Next article, headline reads, 10-year-old black girl breaks record, writes longest novel with 58,000 words. And this young sister is Nigerian by way of the UK. She's currently residing in the UK, but she is of Nigerian descent. So if I kind of mess up on the sister's name, please excuse me. I'm going to do my best. Now, she's of Nigerian descent, like I said. I know a Nigerian person said, I can pronounce American names. You cannot pronounce a Nigerian name? Nah, brother, I can't. Her name is Hafizia and Akile Higan. HEPHZIBAHANIKALEHIGION. So, if you can pronounce it great, I cannot. That's like more, but her book was called The Chronicles of Timekeepers Whisked Away. And it was 58,000 words, and apparently that's never been done before. So we're going to give it a Warm Narrative podcast round of applause for our young sister and her record-breaking feats. And then also, we're going to give a Warm Narrative podcast from the mother-daughter duo. They got their degree together. So next article, the headline reads, now I'm an audio platform, but this is just what the headline said when I came across this article. The moment this man closed billion-dollar deal from struggling at 17 and being homeless. And so I believe the brother is also from the UK because it says $1 billion, but then it has the euro sign in the headline. So I'm guessing it had to be overseas because that's the only other place I know that has euros as currency. The brother's name is Dean Forbes. Not to be confused with the magazine Forbes. He doesn't own Forbes magazine. It's just a coincidence. So his mother was disabled, and she was working whilst disabled. It didn't say what her disability was, but she lost her job. This in turn, caused a little chain reaction. He had been homeless from age 14 all the way up until he graduated high school. His first job out of high school was an entry-level telesales rep for Motorola. And you didn't really say, the article that I got, you had to do your Googles to see, what other business endeavors he became a billionaire with, but he's now the owner of several different businesses, over 5 and counting, worldwide. But he triumphed in the face of adversity and didn't let his current situation dictate his destination. Ooh, that's a bar. Don't let your current situation dictate your destination. Yeah, that's a bar. But he never gave up. He stood 10 toes down, do what he had to do. He worked up from a telesales rep all the way to a manager in Motorola, and then from that, he opened up his own business. That business became successful, opened another business, and now he's currently a billionaire. So he got ridiculed. He got talked about from age 14 to 17. People weren't kind to him, within our community and outside of our community. So he living over in the UK, so they're super duper racist over there. And he was homeless on top of it, so that's what he had going on in his life, but he found a way to overcome. And that's what all of us got to do. That's the takeaway from that story. We all have to find a way to, overcome. Because like I said, the media tries to program us and condition us into believing that we can't come out even Stevens, like we can't win. We got to accept our, whatever current situation we're in as just, it's never going to get any better. This is just it for me. At whatever age we're at, whatever, our current situation in life, this is just it. This is going to be as good as it's going to get. The system ain't designed for us to win, and, we just got to accept it. But there's always an exception. One of the rules, and that brother is an exception to the rule. You are an exception to the rule. All right, moving forward, next article reads, woman sentenced to life in prison graduates top of her class from Life University. And the sister's name is Michelle Morrison. So her story is like bittersweet. She was serving a lifetime sentence as an accessory to murder. She and then got charged with the same sentence that the person that actually committed the murder got. See, she was just randomly along for a ride. So the person that was driving the car, they had a mutual friend. They was going to collect some money. Like another friend owed the driver some money. The driver goes into the place to go collect the debt. And so, live in our community, you can just connect the dots. They was chilling. Like, there's a whole lot of things is not said, but you can connect the dots and know what happened. They was just talking one day. You know that old yeah, they owe me some money. They've been owing me for the longest day. I'm gonna get my I seen them at the mall buying this, that. Oh, word? Yeah. I got something for them. They're gonna come off my bread today. They giving my money today. And then they go over to the house. Where they stay at? Oh, they stay. So she's in the passenger seat, navigating, telling them where the other person stay. They go up there, go in the house, and obviously it wasn't a pleasant conversation when they got in there, because the driver, unalived the person that owed the money. And so in turn, the police got called. The person that unalived the friend that owed the money, that owed the debt, they got arrested, charged with murder. She's in the passenger seat in the vehicle. She got charged with accessory to murder and got a life sentence as well. So while she was incarcerated the whole time, she made good use of her time. She didn't feel sorry for herself, even though she got a raw deal, because she shouldn't have gotten a life sentence too. She shouldn't even got manslaughter, let alone a life sentence. She's just in the car. She don't got nothing to do with nothing. She's just literally along for a ride. So, but anyway, her state where that occurred charged her with murder as well. So she, like I said, she utilized her time. She went to college. She went to, Life University College. They had a special program for inmates. She participated in that. She was constantly in the library. Obviously, prison library and all prison libraries, of course, they got the jailhouse lawyer. That's how she got out. They found a law that helped her get out called the Fulton County Conviction Integrity. So apparently, if you're showing the intent to change, they look at your situation, what the state law requires, and she fulfilled at least a good amount of her sentence and proved, she didn't have any incursions, she didn't have no write-ups. Essentially, she was a model prisoner. She wasn't never supposed to be incarcerated in the first place. But, now she is a free woman. She has a degree, and she has now devoted her life to prison reform and trying to, advocate for people that's currently incarcerated through the same circumstances. She was basically innocent in jail, innocent in jail, so she's, devoting her life to helping people like that get their convictions overturned and being comfortable while incarcerated, falsely incarcerated, that they can get everything they need, get their education and basic life necessities, their commissary, their hygiene, their food, and this, that, and the third. So that's what she's now dedicating her life to prison reform, advocating for people falsely incarcerated or incarcerated on false charges. But nevertheless, very impressive story of redemption, a story of overcoming your overcoming obstacles and not succumbing to your surroundings, not letting your current situation be your final destination. She got up out that prison. So if she would have, felt sorry for herself, like a lot of us tend to do, especially with this systemic thing, not that it's 110% our fault for succumbing to that feeling of helplessness, but she found a way to make it work. She's now a free woman, highly educated, and living for a purpose now. So sometimes you got to go through something to, get what you're supposed to have. You got to it's a trade-off. As the cliche saying goes, I'm on my purpose, I'm on my path. The path ain't just a straight line. Your path is a whole bunch of squiggles, turns, and detours. So it's not just straight. It's going to take you a lot of uncomfortable places. But if you really believe in your path, then you will find a way to get to your destination, like this lady did. So we're going to give a warm narrative podcast round of applause for our brother Dean Forbes for overcoming his adversity trial, and our sister Michelle Morrison for overcoming her, trials and tribulations. All right. So like I said, tonight is a super duper light bite. I usually have, when I'm doing my lives, I at least have like 5 to 6 articles, but those are just the only ones that stuck out in my mind to share this evening. But now we're going to move on to the commentary for this evening. First topic, your boy, that gangster, that Russian gangster, Vlad. I'm not talking about the guy with the YouTube channel. I'm talking about Putin. Vladimir Putin. He done drew a line in the sand and basically telling America, what's happening with it. Like he basically telling us to get ready. Tired of our involvement in Russian affairs. We done gave all that aid to the Ukraine. And so we inadvertently positioned ourselves in their business. And so basically he's saying like, if you ain't with us, then you against us. So, you've aligned yourself up with the enemy, so now you're the enemy. So we're gearing up for a potential war that didn't have to be in the first place because we didn't have to get in it at all. They've never did nothing for us. So how does that pertain to us as a people? I can go, do I need to say? First of all, they giving them all these billions of dollars, and we got all these issues and things we need here in America, mainly reparations for our people, just for our people. Talking about they ain't got it, and they just gave them $1 billion, but just for everybody else living here in America, our U.S. veterans, displaced people with homes, homeless people, disenfranchised, hungry people working, but they hungry. They only have enough to living just $1 or $2 over the poverty line. They got just enough to pay their bills and nothing else to sustain themselves, but we financing another country. So, like I said before, if you listened to my live last week, our government's on that. That's one thing to validate that we're going to, probably going to go back into at some point a state of suspended animation. They're trying to get us to go in the house again. That's just with the war. The looming war that's present. Another thing added on to that is that new variant of the thing. So there's a new strain, new symptoms, of course. Now these new symptoms are 10 times more severe than the original thing when it came to over here in America. And it's already, if you go to the CDC's website, like record-breaking Americans are becoming infected with that, getting ill from it. Like, we done got comfortable and laxed and took off the mask. Like, there's still a few people walking around with masks. I ain't gonna lie, I wear mine, but not for the thing. I just a habit and because like people are stupid. It make me mad. So when I'm wearing mine, I'm really kind of concealing a scowl because I'm scowling because people make me mad. It's sad but true. I'm just telling you why I wear one. I know I probably need some type of therapy, but I don't know, because I'll be walking around frowning. Just that, like, stupidity. But yeah, we got a new variant of the thing. So you better be stocking up on your non-perishable items. You better be stocking up on your watcher. You better be stocking up on your toilet paper. Because it's like, all the signs pointing to it. We're going to have round 2. Because like I said, this is not a country. It is a business. And so this, air quotes, war that we're fitting to, come up on is basically a business deal. And when we're done, when it's over, we're going to have a new business agreement. That's what peace treaties really are. It's a business agreement. It's a hostile takeover that people lose their lives in. And at the end of it, okay, we'll stop the shooting, but you give us this, that, and that. And that's really America's, like if you don't know, America's involvement in any military action we're in. It's all about the Benjis, some type of way. Trying to position ourselves to have the people that we're assisting give us some money. And then if you don't give it to us, we're going to take it. Give us some money. Give us some of your natural resources. But all signs is pointing to, another possible lockdown. Because like I said, if you wasn't listening to my original one from last week, that's what our country does, is they monitor trends. And from the first time we was locked down, all kinds of sales went through the roof, like sundries, like toilet paper, and, non-perishable items. Those sales went through the roof. Things that, are always down, all of a sudden went up. Why? Because we was all locked up in the house and there wasn't nothing to do. Productivity in like Fortune 500 companies, people was actually doing work, so they was churning out more product because people was actually working. So that's what they do. They monitor trends and they're like, okay, this bad thing happened, so they're going to do it again, but it just ain't going to be as severe as last time. I don't think there's going to be a curfew like last time. I don't think they're going to enforce the mask policy this time, but we're definitely going to be sitting down again for 2 to 3 months until, the war and that thing blows over. And of course, it's going to happen like right around general election time, like last time. That's just happening with world news. And so, like I said, something that kind of happened within our community. I'm going to address 2 things within our community. One thing I already touched on, but before I touch on either one of them, like I said, this isn't a place of gossip. I don't entertain, promote, endorse gossip. But when gossip affects us as a people and got us all looking crazy, and social media lines is getting irresponsibly used to cover said gossip, that's when I talk about it. And I talk about it from the perspective of identifying the problem and basically saying, we got bigger fish to fry. That's the perspective I'm going to cover both things. Because as a people, we do got bigger fish to fry, but yet, all our social media platforms is getting, dedicated into covering stuff that really we shouldn't be talking about. So, without any further ado, diving into some news within our community, original people community. So, it's a remix topic. It's a part 2. It's not remix. It's just a part 2. Literally, I didn't see that. It didn't happen until after the first response. And so if you didn't know, so apparently a rapper with Christian values, D1, had called out, he's on a mission for Christ, and he's calling out all degenerate behavior within hip-hop. You don't want the glorification of violence, drugs, everything that's holding us down as a people. He wants to abolish that. He wants to basically do his Christian duty. He professes to be a Christian, and do, air quotes, the Lord's work. And I commend the brother for that. I salute him. That's a very good, noble effort. And I believe he believes in his faith. I don't believe he's putting on airs. There's a lot of people, we're living in the cap era. People they create a gimmick and then they run with it. I really believe he believes in God. I don't think it's a gimmick. But in having said that, in his mission, he called out several rappers. Among the rappers he called out was Meek Mill, Jim Jones, and Rick Ross. So the first of the people that he called out responded was Rick Ross. And if you missed my live last week on that, what I basically said in his defense, that he had the good message, the right energy, but just the wrong execution. And then my feedback that I gave for Rick Ross is like, he's right to feel singled out. Okay, shouldn't nobody call you out. You're an artist, and all artists aren't obligated to do nothing for the community. If you're an artist, if you're just a rapper or a singer or an athlete or whatever you are, you're not obligated to be, a a social activist, a political activist. You're not obligated to advocate for social issues as an entertainer. You're not obligated to do that. But yet Rick Ross does. But now the criticism I gave him was, resorting to name calling. Because when you call somebody out of their name, that really just makes you look, corny than the person that you're trying to make fun of. Because that makes you, appear like, it makes you appear low in intelligence, low in intellectual intelligence, and low in emotional intelligence. That's like, when a little kid gets mad and first thing they want to do, they want to start calling the other kid that made them mad names. You stupid head, you ugly doodle head. That's what that is when you like roasting and calling somebody names online, especially within our community. So, that's not a good look for a grown man to do, to sit up there, call another dude out their name because they didn't agree with something you're doing. But I was more critical of the brother B1 because he professes to be a Christian. And as a Christian, his influence and message is more critical than somebody who is, air quotes, a sinner in the world, because his job is to embrace people and make them accept the kingdom of Christ. You can't make somebody accept the kingdom of Christ if you're being judgmental or condemning them. And so the newest person to clap back is Jim Jones. And I'm going to give my brother Jim Jones the same criticism that I gave brother Rick Ross. Like, yes, you are a human being. You're right to feel singled out. But you're wrong for the name calling, and you're definitely wrong for the threats. So, like, the threat part, that's kind of internet cat because he didn't actually threaten him. He didn't say, okay, so how it started was D1 got on a radio show. And I'm just going to paraphrase, but I'm not going to give the direct quote. But what he basically said, I'm tired of all these old rappers, air quotes, old rappers, setting a bad example for the youth and leading the youth in a bad direction, talking about I'm going to sick the young boys on you. And then he proceeded to name names. He then, after that statement, said, Jim Jones, I love you, brother, you can do better. Meek Mill, I love you, brother, you can do better. Rick Ross, I love you, brother, you can do better. So in that, when he's like singling them out. You see what I'm saying? So in that statement, he's singling them out. And they're reacting and saying, oh, well, wait a minute. I know I ain't the worst one in hip-hop. There's dudes out there that don't do nothing. I do this, that, and the third, and they do this, that, and the third. I'm not sitting up, I might got some, negative frames of reference about the culture in my music, but it's music. You know what I'm saying? When you judge somebody's art form, you got to listen to the art form. This is like the classic thing with hip hop. Because Christians, back in the day, if you remember in the 90s, they tried to ban that genre of rap altogether, like Calvin Butts and our sister Dionne Warwick and a whole bunch of other people in the Christian community was, using their platforms to speak out against that genre of hip-hop. Rap in general, there wasn't just that genre, there was like looping it all into one. Just like anybody that curses on the record, anybody uses profane language, anybody does anything, They was trying to boycott and ban the distribution of it. And now, back then, I was like the hip hop artist, like, what is they talk about? They tripping. But now that I'm much older, I'm kind of now seeing their point, because it has led to destruction within our community. The degeneracy within our culture is at an all-time high, and hip hop is a big, big part of it, because the youth, they emulate these artists. They try to tailor their lifestyle based on the lyrics that they're hearing, and they're perceiving them a certain way, because in their young youthful mind, they're not, a lot of them, not all of them, some of them are really highly intelligent and know the art form, know, wordplay, when it's wordplay, and, they're seeing the poetry in the art form, you know what I mean? They don't really believe, they're not taking it literally. They're seeing the similes, they're seeing the metaphors, they're seeing a whole lot of the youth are, but for the majority of them, there's like a whole lot of them in the morgue, in the penitentiary, who are walking around whole junkies, addicted to substances, lean, pills, from listening to hip hop. And so for that part of it, I see my brother D1's argument. Now, what I'm not condoning, so I got to remix it, as I'm not condoning his execution in which he addressed the artists that he perceived being the biggest offenders of the degeneracy within the art form. Now, if you know anything about Jim Jones, he's incredibly entertaining. He embraces being an entertainer. He is from the Lower East Side of Harlem, Spanish New York, Spanish Harlem, Spanish part. But he actually lived his lyrics. He's one of the few artists to actually live their lyrics. The stuff that they're rhyming about, he actually did it. There's not a whole lot of MCs, when you go check their file or whatever, they called it the G file, when you go, a whole lot of rappers that rap like that come from 2-parent households, never did any jail time before they became artists, didn't even do time in the county jail before they became an artist. But he's stamped, he's certified, he's really a hood dude. He done did some stuff. He had drug spots, like his little, air quotes, G-file checks out. But my criticism I would give to the brother is the name calling and the I'm not going to say threatening, because he didn't threaten. So in his statement, the internet saying he threatened him. He said, "You better keep your head down when you see me." They're never going to run into each other. Trust me, they're never going to run into each other. Their worlds are never going to collide. Jim Jones hangs out in nightclubs. He runs with marijuana smokers. People that indulge alcohol, their worlds are never going to collide. So keep your head down when you see me. You're never going to see him. They don't got nothing to talk about. And then the other statement was, because a cousin of mine, he might not like that. He might run up on you. I got family in New Orleans. They might do something to you. And that's a true statement. They might. You can't control something that somebody else to do and perceive it as a problem. Because like when these rappers, they have these things called entourages. People in the entourage, when they move out, they believe that they're protecting their job. Because like the artists, They'll pay for everything, their art, their everything, their cost of living. They're living off the artist, like whatever money that the artist gives them in living expenses, they're living off the artist. And in their minds, how they're thinking, being a member of their entourage, I gotta alleviate any and all potential threats that threaten my new lifestyle. Now I've become accustomed to finer things in life, like designer clothes, and if somebody threatens this artist, that threatens my way of life. I'm gonna go back to being in the hood and being dead broke if this guy, threatens my way of life. And unfortunately, that's how a whole lot of hip hop deaths start. It's like people in the entourage, their mindset. That's how they view it. That's how they think about it. But in my opinion, I don't believe Jim Jones incited violence. My take on him is like he's the ultimate entertainer. He knows how to manipulate the internet, knows how to manipulate the algorithm, and he's been doing it all his career, how he skyrocketed. He's a observant person. He observes trends, and he's been doing it all through his career. He platformed off, like when he was going back and forth with Jay-Z. He was going back and forth with, allegedly he had some friction with Neo, the R&B singer Neo. He had a little back and forth with 50 Cent. And each time he has back and forth, he notices numbers going up. That's kind of how he even platformed into his, scripted reality television show from when he was on the very first season of Love and Hip Hop. And then from Love and Hip Hop, he brokered a deal. Him and his lady at the time, I don't know if they're still together, Chrissy Lampkin. He used that negative energy to parlay a deal and then get them guys, a scripted reality television show and record deals and everything else. So basically what I'm saying is he takes that negative energy, that negative attention, and turns it into something positive. And when he heard that, he was monitoring trends. He saw Rick Ross's clapback, and he's like, okay, I'm about to really F up the internet. I'm gonna say some crazy bugged out on the radio show. And I don't believe he meant it maliciously. And probably people that know Jim Jones, work with him, they saw it and like, oh, that's just Jim. Jim don't mean nothing by that. That's how Jim talk. He talk that way to everybody. Don't pay that no mind. That's just Jim being Jim. That's what Jim do, But at the same time, don't take a threat lightly. You feel me? So I don't think he meant nothing malicious behind it. And so now I'm not singling nobody out. I'm not calling nobody out. I'm not on nobody's side. But like I said, I do tell the truth on my podcast. I don't put nobody down. I don't kick dirt on nobody's name. None of that, do no name calling. But I gotta put, the emphasis more on our brother D1, because he said he is of the Christian faith, and as a Christian follower, if he reads the book like he says, he dedicated his life to his Lord Savior Jesus Christ, the book, they don't call people out. Just in comparison and contrast, there's a Christian rapper by the name of Lecrae. During Lecrae's run, he was opposed, and he is, because he's still a Christian, he's opposed to the same things that D1 is opposed to. He's opposed to all the same things that he's opposed to. But the difference is he never utilized his platform to tell another rapper what they need to do with their life. Brother, you need to do this and you need to do that. Lecrae ain't never say that during his his rise in hip hop, during his reign, when he was just breaking records and creating firsts in hip hop. Not just Christian rap, but just hip hop in general. He created a whole lot of firsts. So, I know everything's a learning situation, and I hope the lesson from this that our brother D1 has learned is like just, as a Christian of the Christian faith, there's life and death in the tongue, and you got to be careful with the words you speak, because there's a consequence behind speaking that. So as a Christian, your mission in life is to win souls for the Lord. You can't win souls for the Lord if you're coming off as condemning, as you're coming like you're being judgmental. You see what I'm saying? Because in the world of a Christian, somebody at the caliber of T.D. Jakes or somebody like Geno Jennings, they can look at you and say, your ministry is heathenistic and leading people in the wrong direction. If they wanted to call people out, like somebody like Geno Jennings, matter of fact, Geno Jennings called out T.D. Jakes. But what would you do if Geno Jennings called you out and said you wasn't, a Christian, a strong, upright Christian? And that's essentially what you did to them brothers. Now, I also heard a whole lot of other chatter on the internet. So what are you saying? Because you give back to the community that absolves you from, being stand up and righteous, that absolves you from not having to, clean your lyrics up. And after a certain age, you should clean your lyrics up. After a certain age, yeah, at 60, you just ain't cool walking around, still making that type of music. Because you've lived life, you're not in the streets with none of them hood dudes no more. You might have went through a whole lot of hood stuff, but when you're in your late 50s, now you're an official an example, whether you want to be one or not. So you need to be utilizing your platform to, uplift and edify your people. So I'm with my brother D1 in that respect. It's somebody got to call it out. Enough's enough. Because it's not cool. Case in point, there's now a little 6-7-year-old rapper now cussing like a dog, and we're normalizing it and saying, oh, it's just art. It's just art. That little dude, I forget the artist's name, but he ain't even 12 yet. He's 10. Cussing like a dog and talking about, selling drugs and banging a gun. Come on, man. When does it stop? So I'm locked in with my brother in that respect, because we have to, at some point as a people, as a community, come together and say enough's enough. Let's cut it out. So another person that weighed in on it was my son, and my son's argument was just the exact same argument that I'm presenting. He's right for believing that. He's right for standing on his principles. But at the same time, you got to accept the fact that everybody's not at your spiritual level. And if we want to be real, there's The Bible is sex, money, and murder. All up in the Bible, all through the Bible. Debauchery, sex, and money, and murder. All like Jesus' prophets, like everybody had flawed personalities in the Bible, but God used them in a mighty way. I'm not going to sit up there and tell you who was a drunk, who was a liar, and who was a thief, but we know if you ever read the Bible, like he used drunkards to do his bidding, thieves, liars, adulterers, rapists, crazy people, just like people outside their mind in the Bible, according to the Bible, but God used them in a mighty way. And so that's what I think our brother D1's approach should be from now on in, is honoring his faith and honoring the craft of hip-hop by accepting people's differences. Because that's a difference, but, they're fighting on the same side as you are, basically. This is spiritual warfare, make no mistake. This is like all this stuff happening in Hollywood, all this dark, demonic stuff. That's spiritual attacks, bro. So, whatever you call it, whatever you profess to believe in, whether it's, God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, Yahweh, Ra, Ma'at, the higher power, vibration, frequency, whatever you want to call it, like, it's spiritual warfare. To paraphrase another brother is like, brother Baba Dick Gregory, like he said, whatever you want to call it, we just raindrops trying to get back. Play all the games we want to, but our only goal in life is to just get back to the source that we originated from, the same way we got here, clean. And so as a Christian rapper, that's your goal, is to help in that process to get back home. You set it there. You can set the food out, but you can't make nobody eat it. You're not supposed to waver in your faith, and you're not supposed to be a fence straddler, but at the same time, you're not supposed to be a finger pointer either. And so, because both of them brothers, they, Rick Ross and Jim Jones, they both profess to be Christians. Matter of fact, Jim Jones, he was at, he went to a Catholic school, did a little digging. So D1 said, his with Christianity, he was, had Catholicism roots. He was Catholic, to begin with. So they got something in common. They can build from that. Rick Ross also heavily, religious. He's been on the Faith and Values Network talking about his belief in Jesus. So he's a Christian too, but he just rhymes dirty. Rhymes violent, rhymes dirty. Jimmy rhymes violent, rhymes dirty, but does good for the people. And then when you look in the Bible, like I said, all the people God used in the Bible, they was living dirty, foul lifestyles too, but ended up doing the work for the Lord. And you can't knock that, you got to respect it. And the person who I said on my last broadcast about that topic that does that is the Honorable Louis Minister Farrakhan. He believes in God over everything, but in that, he's embraced every single rapper. Like, he's never ever utilized his platform to call out one single rapper. He's never singled one particular rapper out. but he's delivered speech on the filth that they spew in their lyrics and how, damaging it is to the community, but he's never said, a rapper's name, a specific name. He never said Ice Cube, do better. He never said Snoop Dogg, do better. He never said, nobody on the East Coast. He never said Jay-Z, do better. He never said, who else, like, on the East Coast? I'm trying to, like, not put it all on the West Coast, because, like, on the East Coast, he never said Method Man, do better. He never said, you know what I mean? He never said Busta, do better. Like, you just got to be responsible. If you're a messenger, you got to be a responsible messenger. You got to embrace your brother and lead by example. And they will clean up their own lyrics. They'll clean up their own lyrics if you keep on being the example. Just as surely as they'll correct themselves and not curse around you and not smoke marijuana in your presence. And then one more point, if you really love God, you can be around them type of people and still be maintain who you are. That's all. Just keep on seeing the God within people and not come across judgmental, no matter, whatever their preferences is and whatever they believe in and whatever their orientation is. Like, if you say you believe in God, you got to just look at the God within. You can't, look at the exterior. We got to shed this carnal mind. So, in the last little elephant of the room I'm going to address, I kind of sort of addressed it already through that topic, but I'm going to just anchor it on here. I'm not looking at the person involved. I'm not looking at the message of the story. I just know it's news and it shouldn't be news. In my opinion, it's distracting and deterring around for more poignant, relevant things happening in the world and within our community. But, something trending right now, something super a hot button issue now is with our brother Will Smith. So, his sexuality has come into play because somebody, a personal assistant, said they caught him bumping uglies with another man. Okay. My response is, so what? Who cares? So you allege you seen the person that broke the story, they allege they seen a guy, him, bumping uglies with another man in the 90s. It's 2023. Why you ain't say nothing in the 90s? Why you wait all the way to 2023 after the brother had been down, like after the Oscar smack? It took him a while to get back from that. He had before the Oscar smack was the entanglement. And so now it's, oh yeah, he was bumping uglies with another man. And my thing is, so what? And that's how all we as a people should be. It's like, so what? We should be indifferent if it's true. If it's not true, we should be indifferent. Like, why is that news? Why do we care? Why is it dominating every single media outlet? Why is that news? Like, can you wear that? Can you eat that? Can you live in that news? What's that news doing for the entire community? How do we benefit off of that? How do we benefit that brother's orientation, whether it's true, whether it's not true? How is that beneficial to us as a people? You see the game that the media is playing? And I just told you, we got another variation of that thing coming out. We're primed to go to war at any given day now. They just had, in the month of October, they was talking about a government shutdown. Earlier this month, they was talking about another government shutdown. But here we are, November, almost into December, and this news is taking over every social media platform, and who cares? Like, do you really care, bro? Is that really so fascinating? Oh, Will Smith laid up with him. So? If he did or if he didn't, if he is or if he's not. Like, I didn't care with the entanglement. I didn't care with the smack. So what? So, I mean, I wish that brother well in life. I want him to have everything he's supposed to have. But what he does or does not do with his wife ain't nobody's business. What he does or does not do with another man ain't nobody's business. Who cares? So what? Like, is that going to feed a family? Is that going to fix an issue within our community? The many, many, many issues we have within our community, is knowing his orientation going to fix that? Who cares? And all the people spreading the gossip, look at their lives. All the people feeding into it, look at their lives. Look at their family structure. Like, shake them and see how many skeletons fall out of their closet. I don't care. And as a people, we shouldn't care. We got too many other pressing things to be worried about than another man's orientation, whether it is or whether it is not true. Who cares? So what? So? In the 90s, bruh, it's 23, about to be 24. So you had this information and knowledge in the 90s, you just now coming forward with it. If that ain't like just clout chase to the 10th power. So you know what he's obviously getting out of it. He's getting airtime. He's getting, all the talk shows want to know, all the podcasts want to know. So he's going to probably eventually at some time be on the Breakfast Club, at Hot 9 or whoever, telling his side, promoting his book, merchandise. And at some point in time, Will Smith's going to have to write another book to address it. At some point in time, Dwayne Martin, he's going to have to address it. He's going to probably write a book too. So, but through all of it, like I said, who cares? Why is this important? Why is this news? Nobody don't care about that. I don't care about that. You shouldn't care about that. Whether it's true or whether it's not true. Because neither one of them promoted that lifestyle. It ain't been up in our faces in none of the projects they've done, aside for the 60 degrees of separation of which he did play a homosexual male. It has not been nowhere in his legacy in none of the movies he's played. None of the family shows that he's been on, that lifestyle. So that's one out of like 30 movies he done did. I don't care. I'm gonna keep saying, like, I'm just in disbelief that it's like trending like this. And it's never going to be confirmed nor denied. His wife, she done took to the internet defending the comments. Like, she shouldn't, in my opinion, she shouldn't even addressed it if it's not true. Like, he ain't addressing it. Like Dwayne Martin ain't addressing it. Like, who cares, bro? On next, let's move on. And that's all I had to say on this subject. Let's move on. Let's let this stink egg, air this egg out. Open the windows, clear the air. On to the next thing, because this is like a dead issue. It shouldn't even be a thing, and it's a thing. All the issues we got within our community, all the preparation we need to get underway to get us to the next phase of war, because that's what we're engaged in right now, this systemic thing. This shouldn't be nowhere on the radar, period. Whether it's true, whether it's not true, we should be indifferent either way. Because at this point, our children won't be damaged about it because it's accepted in school. They got the flag and it's normalized now if it is true. So why is it a thing? I don't get it. I don't get stupid news. I don't understand why our people we're just so enthralled with that type of news, and there's all kind of knowledge out here, things we could be using to make money, things that we can help do to repair our neighborhoods, things that we can do to empower ourselves, but we engage and we embrace idle gossip, and that's what this is. This is idle, fruitless gossip. Whether it's true or untrue, it's gossip. Crazy. Well, that's it, and that's all. That's all my input I have on that topic, and this concludes another episode of the Narrative Podcast. Thank you for listening this evening. Please download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast wherever you get your podcast information from. Now, I do 2 versions of the Narrative Podcast. This is a live edition of the Narrative Podcast. I also broadcast every single weekend on the weekends. So what you want to do, if you always want to be in the loop, when I go live, follow me on YouTube. I'm Halsey Allen on YouTube. So follow me on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button and notification all. Then also follow me on Twitter. I'm Halsey Allen on Twitter as well. Because this particular platform that I'm broadcasting right now, it broadcasts directly to YouTube and Twitter when I'm live. So you follow me on either one of those mediums. You'll always be notified when I'm doing a live episode of the Narrative Podcast. But yeah, I also do the Narrative Podcast every single weekend without fail too. So tune in on the weekends wherever you get your podcast information from. I'm going to just tell you right now, it's a strong possibility I might not go this weekend because I've been experiencing technical difficulties with this podcast platform. It took 45 minutes to upload my episode when I broadcast over the weekend. I finished my broadcast around 4 p.m., but I couldn't upload until it took 2 hours to upload is what I'm saying. So I contacted them. They didn't know what the issue was. Their tech people didn't know what the issue was. I don't know what the issue is. So I'm going to do some test runs before this weekend. If it's acting like it was, I probably won't go and do a full episode this weekend, so I don't know. I'm going to cross my fingers, but for all intensive purposes, just check me out this weekend for a full episode of the Narrative Podcast, as I do every single weekend. But download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. What else I got going on? I have written a book titled the Black Card. It's currently available only on one medium, and that's poetizer.com. So to purchase the Black Card, go to poetizer.com. They have a virtual online bookstore. You can go purchase the Black Card on poetizer.com's virtual bookstore. The Black Card basically is just a comprehensive look at us as a people. You know, everything we experience, everything within our culture. Basically, it's like a survival guide of what it means to be an original person, aka Black. So do yourself the hugest favor, go cop the Black Card today, or get your Black Card revoked. So it's like 30 poems, really insightful, witty, creative, and to make a great coffee table read. It's Black Friday, and to make a good gift, a stocking stuffer. So yeah, go on and check it out, the Black Card. I also got a poetry blog on blogger.com, and the address is www.mrhallziesblogs.com on blogger.com. That is a collection of poetry that I write. It's just spontaneous in the moment. But to be spontaneous in the moment poetry, it is very creative. You're guaranteed to find a piece that you can relate to. So go check that out right now, www.mrhallziesblogs.com. You can support my poetry blog by sharing the link or a poem featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner on all platforms, whatever platform you're affluent on, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Tumblr, whether it's WordPress, whatever you're affluent on. Share the link or a poem featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner on all platforms. The messengers, Kick, Snap, whatever. Also, if you got a visual platform, you might have to like YouTube or Instagram. Where you're in front of the camera, you might want to just shout out Halsey's Poetry Corner or a poem featured on it. If you read it and you liked the poem featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner, you might have to utilize your visual platform and just say it like that to support. But you can also support by liking and sharing, of course. But the best way to do is to share the poems on all platforms. But you can even visit the site and write me a comment on one of the poems that you like by logging in with your Gmail account, if you have a Gmail account, when you visit the site. But that's it. I could keep you updated on all future projects, as I'm currently got several of them, maneuvering deals, doing my thing. But thank you all for helping me build this platform and helping me to stay consistent with the platform. Thank you so much. Keep supporting the platform. Download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast. You can message me directly at passionwebmail@poeticpassion.host. And that'll do it for this episode of the Narrator Podcast. I'm sending you light, love, healing energy over whatever you got going on. Wishing you great abundance this evening. So, happy hump day. We got over the hump. Get ready for this weekend. Do what you got to do. Prepare for the end of this year, because this year is almost out of here, just like me. I'm out of here like last year. But it's been real. I'm Halsey Allen. I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. I'm asking you to help me join the cause of changing the narrative by becoming a narrator. And on your end, change the narrative one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen and the Narrator Podcast, signing off. And it's like that.
You are now listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.